you need to know before you buy a new construction home in San Diego. Now, these things are all things that could very easily apply in other markets, but they're definitely specifically important to the San Diego and really the Southern California region marketplace. As you can see, I spell my name weird, hence the red squiggly line under my last name. All right, so new construction must-knows is what I'm calling them. And this becomes something that is really important in markets where inventory is tight, although we're getting more inventory now. You never know when inventory will shore up and the new construction homes become more attractive in that situation. So here's the things that you must know before you buy a new construction home in San Diego. First, number one is representation. One of the things that's very clear about the new builders and sort of the way they operate their business models is that they want to control everything. I kind of akin it to like being a cattle on a farm. They want to be able to control everyone. They're moving big numbers. There's big things involved. So they're trying to get everyone to just follow in lockstep with their process. One of the first things they're going to try to do in order to do that is to get rid of your representation. So they'll either tell your agent, hey, thanks for bringing him in here. We'll pay your commission, but you go away now. Or they'll say, hey, we don't pay agents commission. Your agent needs to go away. Or they'll say, hey, we'll pay your agent $3,000. Thank you for bringing him here. Now get out of here. They'll also try to do that on the lending side as well. They'll try to get you to use their in-house lender. We'll talk more about that in a second, but they want you to be without representation. So that's the first thing you have to make note of when you walk in there. Like, man, how quickly are they trying to get me into a situation where I don't have someone advocating on my behalf, where it's just me and them, and I have to trust them with everything, and I don't have anyone who's questioning any of it for me. I would highly recommend that you have some sort of representation, whether you have a realtor and you use the in-house lender, or whether you use a different lender like myself, or you don't have a realtor or whatever. Have someone in the transaction who's a part of it that is representing you. That is a really wise thing to do in a real estate transaction. The contract. One of the things you're going to notice about the new construction contract, it's much more lengthy and much more complicated, written much more in favor of the builder than the traditional California Association of Realtors forms and Residential Purchase Agreement, RPA. So this contract's really complicated. It's tons of legalese. It's really different. I mean, you really would have to pay an attorney probably a couple of grand just to review it. That's how complicated it is. So you're most people, you're just signing that and blindly jumping into it. That's really what's happening. Let's be honest with ourselves. So you kind of have to ask yourself, is that something you want to do or not? I can promise you this, the contract doesn't hold them harmless. Or actually, it will hold them harmless. It doesn't hold them accountable for anything that may or may not go wrong. And a lot of things can change with new construction. Hey, we're expecting to be completed in September. Actually, it's March now. I mean, you could literally hear that. So it can be difficult to plan around that, but we'll talk about that more too. The process with purchasing a new construction home is pretty much the same. You get pre-approved, you go and you write an offer. A lot of times, though, you'll have to wait. And so you'll have to get put on a list. And then when your name comes up, they'll call you and say, we have this one available. Do you want it? And you may not even know exactly where it is yet, but then you'll kind of go into that queue. So they kind of have a funnel where they try to funnel you down to the point where you're actually in contract with them. And so that process is a little bit different. For some people who just know they want to be in new construction, or they just know they want to be in a certain area or a certain development, it's fine. They're willing to wait. For a lot of people, they end up getting on these lists and then they end up shopping around because they can't stand the wait. And that's perfectly understandable. I have a lot of people who call me and they say, yeah, I'm on a list for this development. I've been on it for 6 months and I don't know if it'll ever even happen, because they can't guarantee you that you'll even get in. So they'll ask you to wait on these lists, and then there's no guarantee that your name will ever get called. So you're just kind of waiting around, renting, waiting, renting, waiting, renting, and you don't really know what's going to happen next. Now, if you already own a home, it can be much easier because then you can just wait until they call your name or until you get in contract, and then you can put your home up for sale. But if you're renting or you're in a different kind of situation, then maybe that doesn't work for you. So the process is a little bit different. There's a lot of waiting involved. Kind of like being at the doctor's office, that kind of thing. Except for at the doctor's office, they are going to eventually call your name. With the new construction, they may not. Timing the market is more difficult with these. I actually specialize in this, and this is something that we've helped a lot of people save a lot of money on. So if let's say you get in a contract and I say, okay, your home's going to be finished in 6 months. Well, when do you lock the rate? How do you manage that? And then once you get 2 months away from your expected date of completion, they say it's going to be another 2 months. So 4 months from then, how do you play that? This is where we can really, really help you save money on the rate and have yourself hedged in. So what we can do as a broker is we can lock the loan with bank A, and then for a longer period of time. And if we aren't able to close during that period of time, we can just relock with bank B. Now, let's say rates drop along the way, then we can relock with bank B as well. So there's no cost for us to do a rate lock, no cost to break a rate lock. So we can kind of bounce around during the process until we get into the best situation for you. That's really the hardest thing to do with this. If you don't do that, like if you're using the builder's lender or a different lender, a non-broker lender like a mortgage banker, they're pretty much going to just say, well, we need to wait until we know more for sure when we're going to actually be able to close. But that waiting could cost you a lot. If in the last 6 months since I'm making this video, rates have gone up a lot. So if you had waited during that time, it would just be, every time rates tick up, it's just costing you more and more money. So you don't want to be in that situation. You want to have a rate locked for sure. You want to have a rate locked so that you're not just flapping in the wind. But you also have to be mindful of the fact that you may not be in your best interest unless you can relock and break that lock without penalty. And on the financing side, when you're looking at this, they are going to have their own in-house lender that they're going to say, hey, we're going to give you this builder incentive if you use our lender. Really, the purpose behind that is just, again, control. They don't want someone advocating on your behalf, and they don't want to have to follow up with 100 different lenders to get updates on loans. They'd rather just follow up with their own in-house lender. So it's really convenience and control for the builder. I totally understand why they do it. It's not something that I participate in or would ever participate in with a builder. I think people should have, more options. But the bottom line is, most of the time, the deals, I will beat them. They're not like unbeatable deals, but then they throw these incentives on there. And so you have to kind of look at the whole picture to see. When the market is really hot, you may have less opportunity to negotiate that. When the market isn't as hot, sometimes you can negotiate where you can go and you can say, hey, I want to use my own lender, but I also want to get the $10,000 incentive towards closing costs. And sometimes they will do that. If the market is softer, when the market's really hot, they won't do it. They're just basically telling you what to do, and you have to fall in line or you don't get a house. Okay. This list is designed to get progressively better, in case you haven't noticed yet. So this is a big one, especially here in Southern California. Mello-Roos. There's questions that you must ask, okay, every single time. In fact, let me just put them all up. So the way that the process is executed, the sales process for new construction, is to try to keep all of the bad news away for as long as possible. And so what they're doing is they're not going to tell you, they're not going to lie to you about this, most likely. They might, but they're going to kind of just not talk about it. So you have to bring these things up on your own. You have to ask them, and you may have to repeatedly ask them, as they will probably have been coached to deflect on these things. So what is Mello-Roos? Mello-Roos is a special assessment tax, and it is a tax for newer areas, their building infrastructure, and so it usually gets added to the tax bill. And so you want to know, what is the Mello-Roos? If there is Mello-Roos, and if so, how much is it? Same thing with the tax rate. I shouldn't have put taxes. I should have put tax rate on here. The tax rate. What is the tax rate? How much do taxes cost? So I know these things because I'm calculating payments for people all the time who are, buying new construction. I'm trying to figure out what is their payment going to be. And we have to ask all these questions. Otherwise we won't get it right. What's the tax rate? Is there Mello-Roos or an additional tax? And then what are the HOA fees? So with HOA fees, they will a lot of times sort of tell you, oh, well, the HOA fee is going to start at this amount, but it'll probably go down. HOA fees don't go down. HOA fees do not go down ever. They only go up. So do not believe that your HOA fee is going to go down. Now, when they say like, well, it's supposed to start at this, and say, okay, well, is there a schedule? Do we have any idea, how any of this stuff is going to work? Investigate that. Investigate how they're rolling out and executing the HOA. Because, like I said, HOA fees can go up. They don't go down. And, when you add those things together, then my suggestion would be, once you figure out, hey, we like this home here, this new construction home, what is the real payment? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, Mello-Roos, HOA fees, everything together. Look at what that payment is, and then compare that to what you could get for a resale home, a non-new construction home, a resale home, for the same payment. What kind of house, what kind of budget would you have if you got that same payment on a resale home? And then look at those homes and see which ones you like better. You may be able to get a new construction home that's really nice in a cool neighborhood that has cool pools and a gym, or you might be able to get a detached, home, resale home with its own pool. Who knows? Whenever I do these calculations for people, it's always bonkers. They're always blown away. Hey, we're buying this place for $640,000 new construction, attached townhome, but your budget for the same payment, if you didn't buy that on a resale home, would be $850,000. And you're just talking about two completely different worlds. So it's really important to kind of know what the whole picture looks like from the payment standpoint, so you can really figure out, is it a good deal or not? Is this a good deal? Because whoever's going to buy that house from you one day, if you sell it, they're going to be doing those calculations. And you want to make sure that you're getting good value. And if you're okay with it, great. If you see the payment and you know all these data points and you still like it, then please go forward. What I don't want to see happen to you, which I see happen all the time though, is people will get really far down the line on these things. They already have signed a contract. They're already committed to the transaction, and they didn't know the payment is $600 more than they thought it would be. I don't want to see that happen to you. Okay, let's look at today's reminders. Be sure you have representation of some kind, whether it's the realtor, lender, or both. Make sure someone is advocating on your behalf in this transaction. Have to do that. Always ask about the tax rate, the Melrose, and the HOA fees. Be diligent for answers. They will deflect. They will try not to answer this question because they know it is not a good thing for them. The time in the market on these can be tough, so use a broker. It's very, very helpful using a broker like myself, a mortgage broker, someone who can access different banks, is not married to one bank. We can take you to Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, Bank D, wherever it's going to work out best for you. We can take you there. Those are the three big reminders for today. If you ever want to get started, get pre-approved for a home loan, just go to DerrickEvans.com, create your account, start your application, upload your documents, all right there. Real simple, easy to use. And of course, if you have questions, you can always call, text, email me. I am here to help. That is what I'm here for. And I appreciate everyone who does reach out, everyone who does use me for a loan. That is how I make money and how I feed my family. And I'm going to put these kids through college. So I will do everything I can to really earn your business, not just by giving you great terms, but by providing excellent service. So I'll be here if you need me. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.